back to the Robin Sealark channel. It's been such a hot minute that I've forgotten so many things about what it feels like to put yourself out there, to make artwork, to record something and feel uncomfortable. But yeah, we out here. And by out here, I mean in here, in my studio, in my bathroom studio, in my attic. Welcome. It has been almost a year now that I've been offline, for the major part, doing a lot of personal work, recovery, therapy. Personal and familial trauma is very difficult to deal with, and sometimes you find yourself grappling with a huge number of factors and not sure how to cope or emotionally manage. And that's a place I found myself in months ago. And it's been a journey to get to this place where I can sit in front of the camera. In fact, it's been a journey to this take. But today, I just want to be here with you, and I want to re-engage in the art world. I want to re-engage in learning and sharing and investigating all of the beauties that this world has to offer. Today we are going to be getting comfortable again. We're going to explore mixed media, oil painting, acrylic, lots of just general jargon thoughts to do this as we get started. There are many ways to paint a boat and many boats to paint. This week I painted 3 of them, and only one I'll be going through with you today. It'll be a mixed media one, and not this one, and not the one after that. It'll be the one that you will see as we get to it. But yes, I'm going to have each of the reference images for the 3 boat paintings that I made available on my Twitter for you at Robin Sealark. The link will be in my description, but we are going to primarily focus on this mixed media man because I think it synthesized the information that I learned in the first 2 in a way that I kind of want to encapsulate and share back to you. It's a bit magical, it's a bit impressionistic, but it's still structural, and yeah, I think that's worth exploring. The prep work for these was all done the same. I was working on my trusty, dusty, multi-density fiberboard, MDF board, and honestly, the thing about this kind of board is you really don't have to do much in preparation other than cut it down to size, but if you want to do a little bit extra, you can sand down the top, the sides, and then as you do your priming, covering it with a gesso or an acrylic paint to seal that top. You can choose if you want to do multiple levels, not levels, but layers, painting and sanding and painting and sanding to build it up to whatever desired surface texture you would like. Okay, I'm going to be using a blue, a white, and a little bit of burnt sienna on the very beginnings of this tutorial painting thing. And, yes, this is going to be a very loose process. The whole thing is quite loose. I wanted to go specifically in this image for approaching it in a more gestural manner. And what I mean by that is that I started out the other 2 images doing these very tight photo realism attempts, and I learned a lot in that, but sometimes I would get too caught up on the details, and instead of capturing really the essence or really embodying the proper form and construction, I would run into problems because I wasn't thinking of it in this kind of zoomed out way. So I want to approach that methodology with you, and I want it to be very low pressure. And yeah. So in our background, we've done a really soft gradient. I just watered down my brush a touch so that I could thin things out. And then we went directly into our drawing. Whether you have a printed reference like I do, or you're working off of some kind of screen, it's helpful to have different straight edges or measuring devices so you can compare angles against one another. Something I'm doing here is kind of tracing out the lines before I'm actually moving my pencil onto our surface, because I found that it was helpful for me to kind of conceptualize what the form was, and with this barrel, just making sure that I went in and being aware of what the actual structural spaces are that I'm constructing with my lines, where the dimension is, and how surfaces might move in space. We're going to use a straight edge to get our lines in, and I actually made a mistake, so, you know, pat yourself on the back if you make a mistake, because woot, same. What is this? An unexpected tool time? This is a mixed media painting, and something I've been exploring a lot recently is working with, well, in this case, colored pencils. Whether I'm going to colored pencils or to markers, I've found that I kind of like mixing it up and putting in a drawing tool so that I can get down in an extra quick way some of the blocks of colors, and this was nice because I was able to establish some really important light magenta hues on the front of the boat, which I think made it have a nice kind of glowing pink quality. That pink is something I'm going to use throughout the painting as we go along, but creating some dimension for our water, some basic blocked in ideas, and then another weird tool. This is acrylic matte medium that I'm using, and basically I just wanted different sealing agents, so sometimes I would use hairspray as well in place of a fixative. Maybe you have a fixative, or you could use Mod Podge, which is just a mixture of water and glue. But basically I wanted to do these layers where I was kind of locking in what I had underneath and then painting in such a way that it felt like it was building in a way sitting on top. At the end you're going to see a close version of this, and there will be plenty of times that I'm going over things in layers with different tools, and I think it did kind of give it a layered look. You'll see, it's interesting. I did some more gestural, more short block-like motions with my paintbrush all out over the place in this painting, but in the background, and I was having fun just going around the lines. It does create kind of an alternative look to the sky, but I was okay with that because we're exploring. I decided to deepen things with blue and red. This is essentially blocking in those highlights, those shadows, and with a clean palette, we're going to start blocking in our clouds. You can see I'm almost just scratching on my paint, and it feels like a kind of sculptural process that I do with adding the layers of mixed media, but also with building up more and more detailed ways of applying paint. So in this I have a small amount of this permanent rose color, but basically it's a magenta in place of a red. It's going to give you more pinks, and I wanted to use that in a number of places to accentuate the very light atmospheric pink that's coming through in the air and onto the clouds and in the light that's hitting the front of the boat, so that, you know, it's just kind of a whimsical way of accentuating what happens in nature and the way it's playing. And I think it is nice. This was a little bit more of a breakaway from the reference image, and I think it was nice, and the reason I wanted to show off this specific image was because of the play and the thought of experimentation on not just taking the components that we learn about how you make a technical painting, but then thinking how you imbue a sense of wonderment and that idea of essence. Like right here, capturing that light by adding these greens and slight orangey colors, and they're exaggerated in a way, but also they're true to life and form in a way too. The way that underbelly of the boat gets a kind of back glow up onto it, the reflective light, and we see it reflected in some greens. I want a brief aside lesson to talk about some of the methods to the madness, why the layers, and to compare this older work, portrait painting I did with very thin sheets of color, to some of the newer things that I'm working on, just so I can kind of show you the way you can create this structure and depth when you do go about exploring, embedding new colors and exaggerating vibrancy or contrast. Here I'm toning back some of the lines that I had put to establish shine and wave in the back of the water. But it's been fun because with these kind of watered down layers of acrylic and playing with that layering of the matte medium, I can see the different shape and form that I've established, but then I can tone it back and now add on new layers of color, new shines. So going in, just doing our last establishment of form, really, deepening any shadows you need to, popping highlights. At this point we have acrylic, graphite, colored pencil, sandwich layered of acrylic medium, and the last real pop is the most important. So we are putting in some accents, taking that magenta, and at this point actually it looks like I might have been using oil on top of everything. But I'm taking some magenta colors, some oranges, some purples, and just layering them lightly on top of everything. And this is kind of what we got. So even if you're working with one of the other images, I want you to think about the colors that you choose to accentuate and the ways that we play with light, and how you can pop things like greens and yellows and oranges and imbue them in a way that some of the interesting classics did. The way I talked about in one video, Vincent van Gogh would pop some red into an eyelid crease. Yeah, this painting was made with no blacks whatsoever. It was just done with blues and reds to make our deepened colors. And when you explore different ways of mixing colors, you might find you really like it. If you are interested in purchasing any of those paintings, or a few more that I've just put up on my website, I'm live again. It is robinsealark.com, and you can check out my various platforms on the internet. Show support, join community at Robin Sealark. Thank you for being here with me. Here's to more videos. Happy arting.